seems to be this internet debate now that Josh Allen is overrated, and it's all been spearheaded by Fox Sports' Nick Wright, who's good friends with Andrew Filipponi. He ain't overrated, right?
No.
Not at all.
No. I mean, he is the team. Running, throwing, if they need a play, it's him. I mean, and he stays relatively healthy. He's durable. Mm-hmm. He's big. I think he just has bad coaching. I think that he hasn't had that coach that really take him over the edge to, being, a top-tier team. I think that's what's holding him back. He's had talent around him. He's had Stephon Diggs. He's had, tight ends and things of that nature. He has had a couple running backs. I think it's the coaching that's holding him back, not him.
I do agree with that to a point. They have had talent. I don't think they've had elite talent. Diggs is really good. Really good. But apart from him, I think they've all been Josh Allen creations, honestly. And so Nick Wright, he posts all of Josh Allen's quarterback ratings, and Josh Allen is one of those guys where he's so much more than just his quarterback rating.
Yeah.
He was 16th in the league last year. Okay. You're going to rush for 800 yards.
Right.
He was 8th in 2022. He's a dual threat. He is what Cam Newton was, and he throws the ball all over the place. And, yeah, he'll turn it over, okay, but he is their offense. So then we wanted to talk to Bostic about this, but we fell short on time. Who are the overrated ones out there in your mind? Is Lamar Jackson overrated?
I guess that you could make an argument that he is. I mean, 2 MVPs and nothing to show for it. I guess so, right? I could see the argument. I'd listen to it. I'm not going to sit here and say that he is overrated. I think he's done a fantastic job, but if it depends on what the bar is. Mm-hmm. Somebody that's overrated is Tua. I know that people are in love with Tua. There are people out there. There are people that aren't, but I would say he's in the overrated category. Dak Prescott, overrated category.
Future Steeler, yeah.
Justin Herbert, overrated category.
500 in his career.
I mean, right? So, I mean, there are a few out there. I'm trying to go through,
Trevor Lawrence has been a disappointment so far.
Overrated. Mm-hmm. I'd say he's overrated. Joe Burrow's not overrated. He's not.
Probably underrated at this point, honestly.
Yes.
I think they might be getting slept on just a smidge because he is so often hurt. I can't get there with Lamar. I know the Steelers have had a lot of success against him, and I know that he gets hurt, and so he has missed time against the Steelers. But I'm a big believer in sample size, and they win 70% of the games that he starts. He is the straw that stirs all that drink. He has not had the weapons. 2 MVPs. I think eventually, I'm a big Lamar Jackson guy. I think eventually he wins a Super Bowl. But until then, he's going to have his detractors. He's got a ton of pressure on him this year.
Yep.
A ton.
Yep.
We talked about that before. The AFC North, in which quarterback has the most pressure, you could pick any one of them, and I think you can make a reasonable argument for any of them. Russell Wilson, he wants to get paid more than $1.2 million. He might be playing, in some people's minds, his way out of the Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. So you got to fix that. Deshaun Watson, you've been an unmitigated disaster. Joe Burrow, injuries and your best players might be losing a couple of guys this offseason. So then it's all going to be on you. And then, of course, there's Lamar Jackson, 2 MVPs and no trophies. Any one of those guys, you can make the argument, has the most pressure on them. As far as overrated, 2 is a good one.
I think the number one that you can actually have a whole show debate on that I think people, would fall on both sides. And it's legit if you think about it. Aaron Rodgers. Is Aaron Rodgers overrated? Because I'm leaning towards he is. I mean, 1 Super Bowl.
3 MVPs.
3 MVPs, 1 Super Bowl. I mean, loses in the NFC Championship game almost every single year.
At home, he was doing it in Green Bay.
I mean, great arm talent, but, if you're going to say Josh Allen's overrated, you got to say he is, right? I mean, I get the Super Bowl, but that was, 15 years ago.
Well, and maybe I'll step on my own Lamar Jackson argument here, but when you win multiple MVPs, you're probably supposed to win multiple Super Bowls.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people would say he might be the most talented arm of all time, to your point. And if you are that and you're playing playoff games at home and you are losing, yeah, I could see that. Mm-hmm. He also is a jag-off. I don't think he's a good teammate. Now he wants to bring Devontae Adams in. I'm interested to see what they look like this year. The Jets, because if they get Devontae Adams and they got Mike Williams and they got, who was the rookie wide receiver last year from Ohio State?
Garrett Wilson.
Brees Hall. The line still has questions, fine. But with that set of skill position dudes. You're supposed to be the greatest thing since cheeseheads. I don't know. You got to win double digits. You got to win 12 games. You got to be a legitimate Super Bowl contender this year.
Well, wouldn't they be the same team that they lost games in NFC games? I mean, basically, they had Devontae Adams, right? Aaron Rodgers did. You had, the kid from Kentucky who he's on the team now is the older guy. I forget, but as a slot, like Garrett Wilson, like he's kind of the equivalent. I forget his name. But they'd be kind of, and then you have Hackett, who was the offensive coordinator then. So, like, you're basically recreating your Green Bay team and bringing it to the Jets. That didn't work before.
And he can't be as good now as he was the last time he played.
Who am I thinking of? I hate whenever this happens.
Randall Cobb?
Yes.
Let's
thank you.
go!
Thank you.
Yeah! I didn't even Google it. We got there.
Wouldn't he be the equivalent of Garrett Wilson? I mean, he had a pretty good career.
I think Garrett Wilson's a more talented player. I think he might have been a Rodgers creation. Cobb, not to again, I don't want to take like too much away from the guy, but we've seen it with Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson was a top 5 quarterback in the sport, and then you miss that much time. It's tough to get back in. And Rodgers is 40, and he missed a full year, and his mind's not all on football. He was almost RFK's running mate, for God's sake. So I don't know mentally if he's as in it as you need to be whenever you're that age. And Brady took care of himself. Rodgers thinks he takes care of himself. I think those are two totally different things.
Brady was also winning, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brady had the success. He had the method. He had the chemicals. I don't know Aaron Rodgers, he's his own self kind of.
I put Rodgers in the Ben category of supremely talented. Football's not the most important thing in their lives.
Correct.
Whereas with Brady, it absolutely was and still is, and that's why he still continues to be part of football on the Fox broadcast. When Brady went to Tampa, he knew they would win because he's Brady, and he was going to put all the pieces in place to make sure that they won. Rodgers thinks he's doing that. But Rodgers is just trying to have a good time on his way out the door. Mm-hmm. He wants to have the get-along game.
And he's setting up for after football.
Mm-hmm.
His mind's on, okay, what am I going to do when I'm done? Whenever you're in that place, it's not a formula to win.
Yeah.
It's not.
And when you start thinking about that and all these quarterbacks that we've mentioned, we're mentioning a lot of AFC guys. You did mention Dak. We mentioned a lot of AFC guys. There seems to be, in the echo chamber of the football world, this tier ranking. And Russell Wilson is sort of near the bottom of quarterbacks in the AFC in a lot of people's minds.